Hey everybody, Alex Miller at Capnion here. I want to talk to you guys to unpack some things in the news, in particular that the Irish data protection regulator recently fined Meta, parent company of Facebook, $275 million for failing to follow European data privacy rules. So that gets them close to $1 billion in fine in the past year, which is a lot. So, what is interesting about this story? There's a few things worth pointing out. Let you peer a little bit into what's going on in this world and how it really works. Why enforcement of GDPR has been a little bit slow, and then also I think the specific details of the thing they're getting fined for are really interesting. And one of the easier storytelling, really strange, unsettled areas of data privacy law, in my opinion. Okay, so let's begin. Why is it Ireland? You maybe have seen me talk about this in my videos before, but the current situation with GDPR is that individual national governments are supposed to do enforcement. So this is already a little bit of an awkward situation where it's an EU level law. Somehow individual national governments are supposed to be doing the enforcement. And of course, Facebook, you can get on Facebook everywhere in Europe, right? So it's supposed to happen. On top of this, all of the big tech companies that are probably really the targets of GDPR. And then Facebook in particular sort of comes across in the news as public enemy one. All these big tech companies have their European headquarters in Ireland. And whenever they started this, it's kind of true now that political will in Ireland is not super hot on laying the hammer down on these companies because they bring a lot of money and jobs to Ireland. The Irish regulator is pretty small. Ireland's a small country. Its GDP, I think, is actually roughly comparable to the total revenue of these big tech companies all taken together. So it's just a lot of work that an underfunded regulator with a not terribly supportive boss is doing, trying to police the activities of these gigantic companies across all of Europe, and it's just been slow. So we're getting more fines now. There was a long period where not a whole lot of fining or enforcement generally was happening after the law came into effect. And part of that story is that there's no European enforcer. There's an Irish enforcer that's trying to do the enforcement for all of Europe. Details of the breach. I think this is really fascinating. So, about 500,000 records showed up on the dark web that started out on Facebook last year. Facebook did lose this information, and it did end up in the hands of criminals. What the criminals actually did might not conform to your expectation of what's called a breach, in that they scraped the data from the website. So Facebook has various kinds of tools that you can use to, if you're building like a Zynga app or something, plug into Facebook. It turned out that some of these tools, people found a way to get too much access, and they just looked at the profiles of hundreds of millions of people all over the world and kept the information. So the situation, it's a little odd, and I don't think there's, if anybody knows this legal and debate term bright line, I personally don't see a great bright line right now. Of a weird thing is that, LinkedIn is another example. The whole point is that you're putting information on this website so it can be publicly available and lots of people look at it. But then you can also see in these mechanisms, it's friends on Facebook, it's connecting on LinkedIn. You're really not supposed to be able to see the profile of every single person. So if you want to go and get all the data you can get out of LinkedIn, it's supposed to be about people that are connected to you in this circumscribed universe. Hit F12 right now. Start looking at some of the names of the div boxes on the LinkedIn page. It's a total shit show because LinkedIn is doing a whole lot of stuff to try to prevent you from scraping. Because the regulatory situation is exactly, if you are too much of a shitbag about avoiding getting scraped and you get scraped, that's a data breach. Where exactly is the line? I don't think I know. And so what Facebook is in trouble for is in the eye of the European regulators. They were not trying hard enough to not get scraped, even though it's a public website that is about showing other people this information about you. That's why you put it on there. everybody has a certain level of diligence, and LinkedIn, I have verified myself, is very diligent to prevent people from just having a robot go over the site, getting all the information it can. And it's kind of a crappy situation for this no bright line reason, in my opinion. You know, maybe you tried kind of hard to prevent scraping, but you're kind of an idiot. Should it count as a data breach? I don't know the answer to that question, but I don't want to be the guy to find out for the first time. And hopefully, you learned here that you might not want to be either.